Good morning, class. This is Group 6 presentation. I'm going to start off by saying our names first. In my group, we have Samantha Wardrow, Simon Mills, Steve Scott, and myself, Charles Johnson. We're doing our midterm on how does racial and ethnic discrimination impact the process of socialization on high school students. Well, to begin with, it was a move of integration. In 1930, an NAACP attorney named Charles Houston concentrated his efforts into desegregating public schools. In 1954, Brown v. Board of Education of Topeka, the Supreme Court made a ruling that ignited the civil rights movement, which addressed segregation within the public educational system. This ruling has changed history to allow the progression we see in today's school system. The impact of ethnic and racial issues start as a young age in education, with academic focus on shaping socialization within the school system. Socialization provides a link of an individual their entire life process. It molds its members into cooperating within a social requirement. This requirement is also known as the identification formation. To expand upon socialization just a little bit, ethnicity plays a role in socialization of a student within a school setting. Students are influenced by language, cultural values, and their home experiences. In addition, teachers play a major role in the socialization of a student. Socialization has a big effect on low achievement, and just a couple of factors as far as low achievement. Low income students typically show lower school achievement, and there's a couple of different factors. Number one, the lack of cognitive development in the early years, which affects these students all the way through their high school years. Secondly, the lack of cognitive development usually places these students in the lower track of their school curriculum. And lastly, over a period of time, from elementary to high school, these students of low performance get grouped together and work at a slower pace. This is the beginning of these students' social identity. High school athletes and socialization. High school athletes are faced with socialization issues all the time, and a lot of the issues they face are due to ethnic and racial issues. Just to give you a couple of examples of these issues would be stereotypes of different ethnic groups, and also stereotypes of different cliques that high schoolers may find themselves in. What effect does racial and ethnic discrimination have on students as well as their parents? Well, to begin, there are many circumstances that can drive a wedge between individuals of different race, color, and class and gender. To name a few, you have prejudiced thinking, once again you have stereotypes, and you also have social inequality. Just to expand upon social inequality a little more, social inequality is one of the main influences that adversely affects student athletes and their parents today. To give you a definition of social inequality describes societies in which specific groups do not have equal social status based on ethnicity, their gender, and how much money they have in the bank, and other characteristics. This system of discrimination creates dominance in secondary social groups that differ in levels of power and access to goods and services. To give you an example of social inequality in a sports setting would be kids from a lower economical neighborhood who are in this neighborhood, and 9 times out of 10 they're associated with playing basketball or football, opposed to playing a sport like polo. And the reason is because basketball and football cost less to get into than to get into a sport like polo. So there are a lot of social inequality, or there's a lot of discrimination far as that aspect that, and this is one of the reasons why you see a lot of African American athletes in the sport of basketball and football from lower economical neighborhoods versus playing a sport like polo. The effects of discrimination on the parents and students. The effects of discrimination on a student is first psychological. This can cause them to think less of themselves and their ability, in addition making them feel inadequate and inferior to their peers. The effects of discrimination on the parents is that it leaves the parents with a feeling of despair, leaves them feeling helpless as they've been through the same situations themselves. A lot of times parents don't know how to handle a situation like this because, as I said earlier, they had this the same discrimination pressed upon them. Just to give you a look from a functionalist sociological approach on the issue of social inequality. First, I believe from a functionalist sociological approach that there's going to have to be a whole new mindset change, meaning that there's going to have to be a whole new generation that's going to have to be raised with a new concept on how to treat individuals of different class, race, and gender. Racial and ethnic discrimination during the college years. College years are for growing, learning, meeting new people, and trying new things. These experiences can be non-existent if one or a group of individuals are left out due to their race. Athletics bring many life tools to an individual, such as communication, teamwork, leadership, discipline, and many, many more things. However, colleges are starting to break down discrimination barriers, and one way colleges were able to do this was through intercollegiate sports. Intercollegiate athletics is a useful way to provide opportunity for quality interaction, which helps students to learn about multiculturalism and functioning within a diverse society. One individual that was able to break through this wall was Moses Walker, who was the first African American to play at Oberlin College and the University of Michigan, which during the times he played were considered Caucasian institutions. Prejudice and discrimination within professional sports. According to Coestra, professional sports is a highly visible business that attracts millions and regular passionate observers. These sports venues are packed with symbolisms and reinforce the idea that hard work and natural ability is all that is needed to achieve success from humble beginnings. To continue with discrimination within professional sports, many sports leagues in today's sports industries are driven by ticket sales and fan interest. Managers of these sales and interests have to take account for all the decisions that they make. If a team is in a demographically Caucasian or demographically different area, that area is going to want to see that particular player or that particular ethnicity play. See, it's practices like this that affect the player of ethnicity or the player of color. Lastly, media influence and discrimination. The media plays a strong effect on high school athletes today. I.e., just to give you an example, back when Jimmy the Greek, I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember Jimmy the Greek, but Jimmy the Greek had an example how African Americans were fast and strong because our legs were built like horses. Well, anyway, the media portrayed African American athletes as being gifted sports ability wise. However, a lot of times they say that we're not intelligent enough to lead a team. See, when high school athletes are subjected to this type of discrimination, they tend to model this behavior, whether good or bad, which in turn limits their potential growth as an athlete. In conclusion, racial and ethnic discrimination has had a negative impact on high school students. as well as those that love them. Although laws have been enacted to end racial inequality, nothing will truly change until we change our philosophy and our way of thinking. For today's high school athlete, it is imperative that they stay strong-minded and rely on the support of the ones that want to see them succeed. That ends our presentation today. Thank you very much. I'm Charles Johnson, and my group members once again is Samantha Wardrobe, Simon Mills, and Steve Scott. Thank you.